while the world watches the military standoff unfolding in the Strait of Hormuz. A quieter but equally consequential battle is being fought inside Iran, not with missiles or warships, but with something far more subtle and far more insidious. The Iranian government is using internet access as a tool of control, and the people paying the price are more than 90 million ordinary Iranian citizens who have been cut off from the digital world for months. To understand what is happening with Iran's internet shutdown, it is necessary to go back to January, weeks before the outbreak of military conflict on February 28. Millions of Iranians took to the streets in one of the most significant popular uprisings the country had seen in years. The trigger was economic. A government that had failed to stabilize the economy, failed to support the livelihoods of ordinary citizens, and failed to deliver on the basic promises that any government owes its people. Estimates suggest that more than 6 million Iranians rose up in coordinated protests across the country, with one clear and unified objective: the overthrow of the Islamic Republic's government and its leadership. The government's response was swift, brutal, and technologically calculated. Within hours of the protests spreading, Iranian authorities made a decision that would have profound consequences for every citizen in the country. They cut the internet, not partially, not selectively, almost completely. Both corporate networks and public access were severed, plunging Iran's digital landscape into near-total darkness and severing the Iranian people's ability to communicate with each other and with the outside world. The stated reason was security. The real reason was control. By cutting the internet, the government eliminated the most powerful organizational tool available to protesters: social media, messaging applications, live streaming, and the ability to document and share evidence of state repression with the international community. When the military conflict erupted on February 28th, following the first bomb strikes on Iranian territory, the government moved to formalize and deepen the shutdown it had already begun. Within hours of the initial attacks, Iranian authorities cut internet access almost completely across the entire country. What had begun as a tool of protest suppression became a wartime instrument of information control. The Iranian government did not want its citizens communicating freely with the outside world. It did not want images of destruction, civilian casualties, or military setbacks reaching international audiences, and it did not want the Iranian people organizing, sharing information, or accessing perspectives that contradicted the official narrative being broadcast by state media. According to observers and internet monitoring organizations, Iran's internet access has been restored to only approximately 2% of pre-war levels. 2% for a country of more than 90 million people, many of whom depend on digital connectivity for their livelihoods, their education, their healthcare, and their daily lives. That figure represents a humanitarian crisis as significant in its own way as the military conflict itself. What has emerged from the ruins of Iran's digital infrastructure is not a path toward restoration. It is something far more disturbing, a deliberate government-engineered two-tier system in which internet access is treated not as a basic right, but as a privilege to be granted or withheld based on political loyalty and professional utility. Here is how the system works. The Iranian government has compiled a list of individuals and organizations deemed suitable for internet access. Tens of thousands of people, selected based on their professional qualifications, their institutional affiliations, and their perceived loyalty to the state, have been contacted by text, message, and invited to register for a restricted internet service. To qualify, applicants must provide identification documents and professional references. They must be recommended through official channels by the Ministry of Information and Communications Technology, the Ministry of Science and Technology, business associations, or chambers of commerce that are themselves affiliated with the state. Doctors, university professors, and scholars are among those being granted access, appointed directly by government ministries. Private sector workers are directed to register through a website operated by the Iranian ICT Association, another state-affiliated body. Government officials and their allies receive priority access. Corporate entities with ties to the state's telecommunications infrastructure are given preferential treatment. The result is a system in which internet access flows upward to those who serve the government, those who support it, and those whose continued productivity benefits the state. The general public? The 90 million ordinary Iranians who simply want to communicate with their families, run their businesses, access healthcare information, or engage with the wider world remain in the dark. Human rights organizations have been unequivocal in their assessment. The internet that the Iranian government has restored, they say, is for the government's own cadres, its officials, and its allies. It is not for the people. The human cost of the internet shutdown extends far beyond the realm of political communication. It has carved a deep and widening wound through the Iranian economy. Businesses that depend on digital connectivity, which in the modern economy means virtually every business, have been crippled. Reports indicate that more than 1,200 hours of productive working time have been lost across sectors as a direct result of the shutdown. Millions of dollars in economic activity have evaporated. Workers whose jobs require internet access have been unable to perform their duties. Entrepreneurs and small business owners who rely on digital platforms to reach customers and manage operations have seen their livelihoods collapse. One cybersecurity expert, speaking to international media, described the situation in stark terms. Network servers and security systems across Iran have gone unupdated for months, she explained. Security protocols have degraded. Development has stalled. She said she is genuinely uncertain whether her team will be able to fulfill their contracts by the end of the year, not because of the war itself, but because of the internet shutdown that the war has been used to justify. Meanwhile, predictably and inevitably, a black market for internet access has surged. Tens of thousands of Iranians are now paying premium prices for unauthorized access through proxy servers and other tools designed to circumvent government censorship by disguising restricted traffic as permitted traffic. Authorities have responded by aggressively identifying and blocking these workarounds, but the demand for access only grows as the shutdown continues, and where there is demand, there will always be supply, regardless of what the government does to prevent it. Behind the scenes, Iran is building something even more alarming than a simple internet shutdown. It is constructing the infrastructure for permanent, comprehensive digital control. Two independent technology experts have confirmed that Iran is currently developing a program reportedly called NAT that would funnel all internet traffic in the country through a single government-controlled gateway. Every data packet, every message, every search, every communication, all of it passing through one choke point where it can be monitored, filtered, blocked, or recorded at will. The implications of such a system are profound. It would give the Iranian government an unprecedented level of visibility into the digital lives of its citizens. It would make circumvention tools dramatically less effective, and it would entrench state control over information in a way that could outlast the current conflict by decades, becoming a permanent feature of Iranian digital life rather than a temporary wartime measure. The state-affiliated ISN news agency has attempted to frame the restricted internet service in positive terms, calling it a professional option that provides stable connectivity for productive activities and encouraging more applicants to register. But critics inside and outside Iran have rejected that framing entirely. The editor-in-chief of an Iranian online news service was unambiguous in his response, writing on social media that free internet access is a fundamental right, not a privilege to be distributed based on income, status, or political connections. Providing it only to the elite, he wrote, creates inequality, destroys social cohesion, violates personal privacy, and drives people toward the black market. It does not make Iran safer, it makes Iran less free. From inside Iran, the voices that manage to reach the outside world paint a picture of a society struggling to function under conditions of digital suffocation. A young man in the city of Deraham, who accessed the internet for research purposes through unofficial means, confirmed that WhatsApp, Instagram, and most international messaging platforms are completely blocked. Even chatbots. With the exception of certain Chinese-developed tools that the government has chosen to permit, are inaccessible. The digital world that most people on Earth take for granted is, for the vast majority of Iranians, simply gone Thousands of Iranians have reached out to international media and human rights organizations with the same message. This is not about politics. This is about life. The inability to access the internet has cost people their jobs, disrupted their education, severed their connections to family members abroad, and made the most basic tasks of modern daily life, banking, healthcare, commerce, communication, extraordinarily difficult or impossible. One message, shared widely before it was blocked, captured the sentiment of millions. We are not talking about political freedom. We are talking about the ability to live. What is happening to Iran's internet is not a temporary wartime inconvenience. It is the deliberate, systematic construction of a surveillance and control architecture, one that mirrors the most restrictive digital regimes on Earth, and that is being built, in part, under the cover of military conflict. No major country in the world has implemented a comparable system since the brief internet shutdown that accompanied a previous regional conflict. Iran's two-tier access model, in which the state decides who deserves connectivity and who does not, is without modern precedent in a nation of its size and complexity. The message it sends to the Iranian people is clear. The government does not trust you. The government does not serve you, and the government is not afraid to use the tools of the digital age to ensure that your voice, your ability to organize, to communicate, to resist, remains firmly under its control. For 90 million people living in the dark, that message lands with the weight of a wall closing